did I always know what I wanted to do? No, actually. Well, I thought I did. So growing up, I had wanted to be an engineer, I think. Um, and then like I took a bunch of engineer type classes in high school, and I took a bunch of AutoCAD classes. I actually had the equivalent of 5 years of AutoCAD in high school, just because I took so many classes. And then I started going to college for engineering, and I got through 2 years of college focused on engineering, and we were getting ready to move to Flint so that I could go to Kettering and get an engineering degree from there. Um, and I don't know why we hadn't checked out Flint beforehand. We knew it was like not the best area, but then when we like actually got there and started driving around, the only apartments there in the city that were near the college that we could afford were it was a bad area. So I changed my major to graphic design. Actually, no, that's not totally true. For a while, it was like construction or something, and then that was just for like one semester, and I hated it. So then I started looking around at other things. Mom had mentioned she had always wanted to be a graphic designer, so I looked into that because I didn't even know what a graphic designer was. Decided it was pretty cool, and so I decided to go into that. Um, so that was what my first degree was in. Well, actually, so when I graduated from Washtenaw with my associate's degree, I actually got two associate's degrees because I had enough classes for the graphic design degree and for an applied science degree because of all the engineering stuff that I had already taken. So it took me 4 years to graduate from Washtenaw, but it was a great school and I really enjoyed my time there. So after I graduated from there with my graphic design degree, one of my classes was web design, and part of that was learning HTML, and I also had a Flash class, so that's when I started actually learning programming. The first programming language I learned was ActionScript, and I knew just a bit of HTML and CSS. Didn't know any JavaScript. Um, then, after I graduated, um, I couldn't find a job. There was a big shift in the industry right when I finished college.
Which was when?
2004. There's a big shift in the industry from because what had happened was a lot of agencies realized they could save a bunch of money by hiring kids who knew how to use this fancy software. And then they realized that these kids didn't have, and by kids I mean like 18, 19, 20 year olds, um, they realized that they could use the software really well, but they didn't really have any design experience whatsoever. So their designs looked like poo. Um, so then they stopped hiring kids and they wanted people with like 10, 15 years of experience. So granted, that's not saying we're not going to hire kids because that's illegal, and putting an age restriction on something, but like you literally can't have 15 years of experience as a 20-year-old
No,
coming out of
That's
college.
impossible.
So I couldn't find a job in that. Instead, I went to. I at the time when I graduated, I was working at Farmer Jack as a cashier, and one of the ladies that I worked with, her husband worked for True Green. So she said, I talked to him, and he said he'd put in a good word for me, and so he helped me get a job at True Green. Worked there for 5 years. It was okay. Working outside was great, but the pay totally sucked. And I couldn't do it anymore. It was a dead end job. Wasn't getting anywhere. Uh, and that's not what I wanted for myself, for my career, and for my family. So I quit my job and went back to school. Um, at the time, we were living with grandma and grandpa, so mom really wanted me to take advantage of that situation. And so I was able to quit my job and went back to school. I went to Davenport University, which is a fantastic school for web development and computer information systems, because I had really enjoyed the time I had spent in the web design class and in the Flash class. Um, I forgot about a little bit of a part. Shortly before I quit, I participated in a contest on what was the name of that website? Congregate. That was it was called a. I wish I could remember a tutorial contest. So it was for people who had never made a game before. And they would give first, second, and third prizes to people who went through their tutorials to learn how to make Flash games. So I did their tutorials. I didn't win, but I got an honorable mention with my game. It was called Vertigo 3.0. It's pretty good. And I really enjoyed that. And then I took a couple classes at Washtenaw shortly after that for more web development and ActionScript and Flash. In one of those classes, I met a lady who worked for Bush's, and she needed somebody to build some e-learning courses for Bush's. So that was what I did on the side after I quit my job for money. Was I made a e-learning course for Bush on proper bagging techniques. So that was pretty cool. So, and then I was also going to school for web development and computer information systems. And then that's when I found my niche, and I decided that's what I wanted to do.
How many jobs have you had?
Okay. From the very beginning, I was a paper boy. First, I helped Justin with his paper route, and he would pay me. And then I got my own route for a little bit. And then after that, I cleaned offices with my mom and my brother in Ann Arbor. And then I was a dishwasher at Travis Point Country Club. And then I worked for Target, and that's where I met Brendan, who I'm still friends with today. I met him when I was 14. And then after that, I worked at American Blind and Wallpaper Factory selling blinds and wallpaper over the phone. So that was fun. Not. And then I worked at Target again. Then I worked at Farmer Jack. And then after Farmer Jack, I did the e-learning stuff for Bush's. And then I got an actual job at Raytheon Professional Services developing e-learning courses full time. So that was fun. And then after that, I worked for AT&T, making e-learning courses for them, and also doing some web development for them. And then after AT&T, that's when I got my job at Optum, which was my favorite job, best job I ever had. Absolutely amazing. Met some really great people there, and it changed a lot of things. That's where I actually discovered I have a talent for leadership. So that was really great. And then after that, I worked for Ford Direct, and positions at Optum. I was at first I was a web developer, and then I was a web development team lead, and then I was a web development manager, and then before I was done, my last title was senior manager of software engineering. Very fancy. And then I went to Ford Direct, which is where I was a technology manager, which is basically the same thing I did at Optum. And then after that, I got my job where I work now at the Cultural Intelligence Center as software development and IT manager. Actually, it's IT and software development manager, but yeah. Anyway, that's so far, my second favorite job, but it will probably become my first favorite job after I've been there for a while. I really like it. Everybody there's great. I found out when we were at Meijer, it was roughly 9 months before you were born. Yeah, it was Meijer. So that was in June or July or something like that. It was shortly after I graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. Mom was still in high school.
Did Mom call you on the phone, or did she?
No,
did she show up?
No, we went to Meijer together to get the pregnancy test, and then she went and took it in the bathroom, and then she came out and she was crying because she was upset, but
turned out pretty well.
Yeah, we loved each other then, and we love each other now, and we've built a family and a life together. Mm-hmm. So it sped up our timetable a little bit. but we had already, before that happened, had already like talked about, staying together, long term plans, and getting married later on and stuff. So it pulled things forward, but it wasn't anything that was like, oh my god, I'm stuck with this person. We were excited to be having a baby together. It was just sooner than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
My sister is 14 years younger than me, and Mike is 12-ish years younger than Mom or something like that.
Yeah.
So we were both used to having babies around, so it wasn't like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like we knew we knew what we needed to do.
You were a little bit more prepared than most other
Oh
people
yeah,
would
totally. And I think we were just really afraid of what our parents were gonna say. Callie was really too young to have any kind of reaction because she was 4. Justin, so I told Justin while he was driving me to, because my parents were divorced, so we would stay at my mom's house during the week, and then my brother would drive us to my dad's house on the weekends. I told him while he was driving us over to my dad's house one weekend, so that he couldn't freak out too hard, because he's driving. And I did the same thing with my dad because it worked out pretty well with Justin. So.
Were you there when Mom told all of her family?
I don't think so. No, I wasn't. I wasn't there. Grandma took it pretty well in stride.
Makes sense.
She loves babies.
Yeah.
She already had 3 grandchildren, so she was just excited to get more grandchildren. She loves babies. Grandpa Webb was not happy. He was very scary. He shook his finger at me the first time I saw him after Mom told him. And he said that you better promise me that you will always take care of my daughter and my grandson. And I said, of course, I will. And I promised him that I would do that, and I've done that. I was going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But it was freaky. But he didn't like, Grandpa Webb has an awful temper. But he wasn't like throwing anything or anything like that. February of 2001, Mom was pregnant in high school, and she actually finished high school in December. She had enough classes to graduate so that when you were born in February, she wasn't actually in high school anymore. But her first semester in college hadn't started yet. I was in college, and then we got married after you were born, which you know. We got married in April, at the end of April, and then we moved in together in June or something like that. So it was really hard. It was really stressful. I worked a lot. I went to school a lot, trying to make money for us so that we could find somewhere to live. Luckily, we were able to get into the apartments at Maple Heights. After we moved there and out of Grandma's house, then it just seemed like we got poorer and poorer and poorer, because I guess our parents were well, my parents never really helped with anything, but Grandma and Grandpa Webb, I guess, didn't. At first it seemed like they were helping us, but then they stopped, and Grandma Webb was just having strange ideas about things, and it got really stressful, and we were super poor. We were on food stamps and WIC, and our apartment was rent controlled. I think we only paid like $90 a month, and we still only had only had money for your formula, because WIC didn't cover it for some reason. Actually, were we on food stamps at that point? I don't think we were on food stamps at that point, because we barely had any money for food. So we ate a lot of bread and a lot of eggs, but we always made sure that you had your formula first, because you needed your special dairy-free formula. we got a lot of stuff from Salvation Army.
How did you juggle the responsibilities of fatherhood, work, and school all at the same time?
I don't know.
You just did.
I just did. Like, didn't really, like, I don't want to say I didn't have a choice, but, like, those were my two favorite things. Like, I wanted to take care of you and be a good dad and be a good husband to your mom and provide for my family. So I was very dedicated in school, trying to get through all my classes and everything and get decent grades. That was hard for a while because we started having car troubles and I had a hard time getting to class and they didn't have school online back then. Um, so I actually ended up withdrawing from a few classes because I had too many missed classes. Um, Luckily, it was not a class that I would end up needing for my graphic design degree. That was before I changed my major. Um, yeah, it was a balancing act, and I really can't take much credit for it because your mother was is absolutely fantastic at like organization and time management, and she was the one that made sure that like I was taking the right classes and that my work schedule and my school schedule didn't like overlap in stupid ways, and that I would have enough time to do my homework and take care of you and take care of her. And it was just it was it was it was chaos, but it was the only reason why it was manageable is because mom's so good at being mom.